awaiting much-needed humanitarian aid as they run out of things like food and water.
Now, Israel has agreed to allow Egypt to deliver some supplies, but will they be enough? Our Phil Martino has been following this one and joins us live with details. Phil?
Steve, food, water, medicine, and now fuel are running out in the Gaza Strip. The Gaza Health Ministry says a fifth major hospital has been forced to close after it ran out of diesel. But the flow of some goods are expected to begin tomorrow. ABC's Jordana Miller says at least a dozen trucks carrying the supplies are waiting to pass through Egypt's border crossing into southern Gaza. Israel still refusing to allow any humanitarian aid to cross into northern Gaza. Meantime, the Israeli military is continuing its airstrikes with more explosions in Gaza this morning, and Israel's defense minister is promising a ground invasion. According to the Canadian press, he's telling troops to be ready to see Gaza from the inside. Phil Martino, City News. City News time, 12:34. While both Israeli and Palestinian groups are expressing frustrations with the way the Trudeau government is responding to developments in the Israel-Hamas war. City News Parliament Hill reporter Cormac McSweeney is following that story.
On issues like who's responsible for the deadly explosion at a Gaza hospital or the blockading of resources into the Gaza Strip, the Trudeau government has only called for both sides to respect international law and humanitarian needs. But this has only frustrated both sides of this debate. James Caffia with the Palestinian-Canadian Congress believes the Fed should be condemning the cutting off of food and water to civilians as a war crime, and he's angry that there's been no call for a ceasefire.
They're not prepared to take any action. Canada used to be a champion for international law and for human rights.
Michael Mostyn with B'nai B'rith believes the Prime Minister should be more strongly on side with Israel and is upset Canada hasn't sided with Israel and the U.S. and blaming the hospital blast on an Islamic Jihad group. He adds now is not the time for a ceasefire talk.
While we have hostages being kept inside Gaza by Hamas terrorists, this is not the time to enter into discussions like that.
Mostyn believes the Prime Minister should follow the lead of other allies and visit Israel as a sign of solidarity. Cormac McSweeney, Parliament Hill.
You are listening to City News 680. Well, closer to home, renters in Toronto certainly know how hard it is to find a place. Well, some who do have a place are now being evicted in increasing numbers for something called intent to move in. Our Momin Qureshi is live at City Hall to explain. Momin?
Yeah, it's something very specific, Steve, called personal use eviction. That's when the landlord gives tenants notice that they have to move out because a member of the owner's family or a caregiver needs to move in or wants to move in. And in a city that has a housing crisis and very few places for rent or for sale, and even those ones that are available can sometimes be unaffordable, it's tough to see this happening. And those types of evictions are actually up 77% this year, which surpasses the total number of personal use evictions we had last year. I'm actually